Thank goodness for Brad Wall. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.Media. Saskatchewan's Premier is once again the voice of sanity on the national stage as Canada gets set to welcome 25,000 Syrian refugees by January 1st. There are plenty of Canadians that are, asking why we're not hitting the pause button, slowing things down, doing all of this in an orderly fashion. And, supporters of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's plan, they're looking at those that are skeptical and wondering, aren't you just a bunch of bigots? Aren't you just racists? Doesn't matter that more than half of Canadians are skeptical of this plan. That's what several opinion polls have now shown. Doesn't matter at all. Well, if you question the plan, there's got to be something wrong with you. To that, Premier Brad Wall had this to say as he gathered with the other premiers for a First Minister's meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
For those who believe that maybe we shouldn't be deadline driven, and there's a number of Canadians that believe that, I don't think those Canadians should be accused of xenophobia or some of the terms that, excuse me, some of the terms that I've heard in the last week. This is an important discussion to have in Canada. No one's ever doubting the first principle that this country is compassionate. This country's initial reaction is to welcome refugees from wherever they're being persecuted in the world, from wherever they're fleeing. We also need to make sure that we're getting it right in terms of settlement and security, and I just don't think a looming deadline that was part of a political campaign promise, an erstwhile promise, an earnest promise, but still a political promise should not, for a deadline, should not drive the process.
Now, why would you possibly be skeptical? I've told you about people like Mahmoud Mohammed Issa Mohammed, the man who was a terrorist, an escaped terrorist, someone sprung from jail by other terrorists, was able to get into Canada. Ahmed Rassam, the Millennium Bomber. We've got others that were trying to get out of Canada at this very moment. Then you remember that back in 2003, just 2 years after 9/11, there were 36,000 people that the Canadian Border Services Agency and Citizenship and Immigration Canada couldn't find. People that were deemed ineligible to be in Canada, and they had no idea where they were. Fast forward to 2008, and you've got that list growing to 41,000. This is in the years after the biggest terrorist attack on North American soil. We couldn't keep track of people then. Do you think we'll be able to do it now? 2011 is when the Border Services Agency finally admitted there were at least 30 people suspected of war crimes inside Canada's borders. At first, they didn't even want to tell us who they were, just that there were 30 people. When we asked, tell us who they are, they said, no, that would be a privacy concern. We can't tell you. So it's no wonder that many Canadians are skeptical. Government does some things well and some things very badly. Apparently, keeping track of people that shouldn't be in the country is one of the things that they do badly. There is reason for skepticism. There are reasons that tens of thousands of Canadians have signed our petition at refugeepause.ca. If you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to do so now. refugeepause.ca. We will present this petition to Parliament when they resume, and we will keep up the pressure on the government to look after their refugee plans in an orderly manner that puts Canadian interests first.